Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all our problems. Some of these same voices also do their best to gum up the works. They'll warn that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner. You should reject these voices, because what they suggest is that our brave and creative and unique experiment in self-rule is somehow just a sham with which we can't be trusted.
That was the president 7 months ago. Today, it's a different story. Take a look at the latest Gallup poll out about big government. The question, in your opinion, which of the following will be the biggest threat to the country in the future? Big government, 72%. Big business, 21%. Big labor, 5%. And the latest Fox poll, is Barack Obama honest and trustworthy? Now, yes, 45%, no, 49%. And you can see how that has changed in recent months and since 2009, an almost 30-point drop. The high is 73%. Let's bring in our panel about these shifts. Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Judge, what about these polls and where things stand?
The polls are very telling. Our guest, Senator Warner, who will be here in the morning, in a few minutes.
I hope he's not here in the morning.
No,
right.
We won't be here in the morning. Is part of a group of Democrats that are openly and notoriously separating themselves from the president. This is happening all over the country. The poll that you just showed is a spectacular, spectacular number, that our greatest threat is not war, not debt, but big government. So when the president says the experiment in democracy is a sham, those who believe that the big government is a big government is a danger believe that. Guess what? When 12 judges in secret and 12 members of Congress in secret can decide that the Fourth Amendment doesn't mean anything, and the government can dispatch its spies to listen to every single one of the 380 million cell phones in the United States of America, then the experiment in self-government has become a sham.
Do you think these polls have more to do with NSA than Obamacare?
No, I think they have to do with all of it, Brett. I think his house of cards is collapsing about him all at once. In Iran, which we're going to talk about soon, with Obamacare, the rollout of which was a disaster, and with the noble and patriotic revelations of Edward Snowden, the country overwhelmingly supports knowing what Snowden told us.
A.B.
I happen to think that the opposition to big government in that poll is a result of Obamacare. I think that people learned what the program does too late, and they found, even if they were opposed before, they're frightened anew as it has rolled out and been implemented, and they've learned about just how far-reaching it is, and into their choices and into their personal care for their health. I think that is going to be a problem for President Obama unless Obamacare seems to improve somehow in 2014. I think it really is going to define the rest of his presidency, and his numbers are worse now, I think, than anyone but Nixon in his period of his presidency, and he's going to have to make a huge change to do that, even outside of Obamacare. That's sort of going to float on its own, but he's going to have to make some efforts elsewhere to turn the numbers around.
Charles.
Obamacare had already alienated the right for reasons of ideology, the government overreach. The incompetence of the rollout alienated everybody regardless of ideology, because this is a government that can't shoot straight. But I think the most important new element, and the reason Obama's at a new low, is the NSA. And the reason is that it antagonizes the left, and it antagonizes libertarians like the judge, who might be sympathetic to a more, let's say, less aggressive foreign policy that Obama has, but are outraged by the intrusion that it shows. The reason Obama, I think, has sunk below what they call in the stock market the support level, a level at which if a stock goes below, it looks like it could hit the floor, is because his support level had been on the left and among the young. And it's the young, I have discovered from extensive talks with my son and his friends, a hell of a sample, not necessarily conservative ones, liberal young people. They are appalled by the NSA, and that, I think, accounts for their distrust of government and deep disappointment with Obama. It hasn't driven them to the right, but it's driven them into apathy, and that's why his numbers are now historically low. He lost the support he had, and he's below his support level.
You know, Judge, in June, the president said about the programs that they prevented some 55 attacks. According to the latest report done by his own administration and the group that looked into the NSA programs,
Right.
the use of Section 215, the metadata, was not essential to preventing attacks and could readily have been obtained in a timely manner using conventional Section 215 orders. In other words, there's a lot of question about whether these programs did what he said they did back in June, and the press secretary was pressed on that today. He said he stands by it, but that trustworthy thing may not just be about, do you have your plan, period, do you have your doctor, period.
Right, right. I mean, this is a double whammy for the president in 1 week. First, a federal judge, the only federal judge to preside over a case in which the NSA itself was a defendant, who had an opportunity to hear all their arguments, look at all their documents, came to the same conclusion. Guess what? It's not only unconstitutional, it doesn't work. Then, as you just pointed out, the president's own advisory review board, appointed by him, which included 2 intelligence community professionals, one of whom used to run the CIA in an acting capacity, the other of whom was President George H.W. Bush's and President Bill Clinton's national security advisor, came to the same conclusion. It doesn't work. All they have to do is follow the Constitution. If you have some evidence that somebody's doing something, go to a federal judge and get a warrant. But to suggest that you have the right to listen to everybody's phone call to find these people is a waste of time and money, destroys our liberty, and doesn't catch any of the bad guys.
So let's be clear, the ruling is stayed right now. We
Yes.
don't know the Supreme Court's going to act on it. Up next.